Hi, 6th graders. Okay, so this video goes with lesson 8-2, which is on pages 252 and 253 in your book. And for this lesson, we're talking about multiplying fractions and a whole number. So remember, fractions are parts, and usually they've got a numerator and a denominator, like 1/2. That's a part. It's a fraction. But a whole number would be like 4, right? We can write whole numbers as a fraction. And you're going to need to remember how to do that to be able to multiply fractions and whole numbers. So to turn this whole number into a fraction, anytime you've got a whole number, the whole number stays at the top. Okay? And then, I'll make this red so it matches. We always put 1 as the denominator, the bottom number. So 4 as a fraction is 4 over 1. If I wanted to make 16 a fraction, it'd be 16 over 1. So anytime you have a whole number, you put it over 1. Okay? Then our multiplying rules would stay the same for the fractions. So if I were to give you a problem like the one in our book, which is 4 times 2/3. We have a whole number and we have a fraction. So you can, oh, it's kind of hard to see that. Hold on. Okay, so you can leave the fraction just the way it is. We're just going to leave that for right now. But we have to figure out how to make 4 a fraction because they've got to match so we can multiply them. So 4 as a fraction is 4 over 1. So I would rewrite that as 4 over 1. And then I've got a fraction here and a fraction there. And then I would use my same multiplying rules that we talked about in lesson 8-1. So I would start, you can start at the top or the bottom, it doesn't really matter. I think in the last video I started at the bottom. So let's start at the bottom. You're going to multiply all the way across. So if I started over here and I looked at my two bottom numbers, the two denominators, 1 times 3 equals 3. Okay, then I look up here at my top numbers. 4 times 2 equals 8. So my answer is 8 over 3. Okay. So then thinking back to our other fraction lessons, if you have a number that's bigger at the top, the numerator, if that one's bigger than the number at the bottom, it's called improper, right? Because it's not in the right form. It's not in the form that's easiest to work with because we want the smaller number to be on the top. So to do that, you're going to have to make it into a mixed number. So how would I turn 8/3 into a mixed number? Well, how many times does 3 go into 8? 3 times what? Well, 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6, right? If I take it times 3, 3 times 3, that's 9 and it's too big. So I'll have to have it go in there 2 whole times, right? 3 times 2 equals 6. Okay, then if I look at my numerator, I know that 3 times 2 is 6, but the number I want to get to is 8. So I'm going to have 2 left over, right? 2 remaining to get to 8. So my 2 remaining goes in the numerator of my next fraction, and I keep the same bottom number. So to turn 8/3, that's improper. If I wanted to turn it into a mixed fraction, I would say how many times does 3 go into 8? And I would write that as the big number, and the remainder goes at the top of my next fraction. And I keep the same bottom number, 2 2/3. So if you were to only answer it as 8/3, technically, yeah, you multiplied it. But you didn't take the next step to make sure that it's written as a mixed fraction. So if you have an improper fraction, you've got to change it. Okay? Otherwise, you can just leave it the way it is. So that's what you've got to do if you have a whole number and you're trying to multiply it with a fraction.